The rejection happened before the snow even settled on her coat. He didn't look unkind, just distracted, glancing at his phone like it held an escape hatch. "I'm sorry," he said softly, already half standing. "I don't think this is what I'm looking for." The cafe lights felt too bright, the Christmas music too cheerful, and as he walked away, her reflection in the window looked smaller than it had an hour ago. If you've ever felt invisible in a room full of warmth, stay with this story, because sometimes the night you think breaks you is the night everything finally begins. And if moments like this move you, remember to like the video and subscribe, because stories like these deserve to be shared. Her name was Clara, and she had promised herself she wouldn't cry on Christmas Eve. She had promised herself a lot of things over the years: be brave, be patient, be enough, but promises get heavy when they're carried alone. She wrapped her scarf tighter and stepped outside into the cold, the bell above the cafe door chiming like a small, mocking carol. Snowflakes drifted down, slow and quiet, the city softened by white. She walked without a plan, letting the lights guide her, past shop windows glowing with ornaments and families laughing inside restaurants. It wasn't the rejection that hurt the most, it was the familiar thought that followed it, the one that whispered maybe she wasn't meant to be chosen. Clara had grown up believing love was built, not stumbled upon. Her parents had taught her that, right before life taught her how quickly things could fall apart. After her mother died and her father retreated into grief, Clara learned early how to be steady. She became the friend who listened, the coworker who stayed late, the woman who showed up for everyone else. But when it came to herself, she waited. She waited for the right timing, the right person, the right sign that it was okay to want more. Tonight was supposed to be a small step toward that. A blind date, Christmas, a maybe. Instead, it was another quiet walk home. She turned down a street she didn't recognize, drawn by a small community center with a hand-painted sign that read, "Holiday Toy Drive, all welcome." Inside, warm light spilled onto the snow. Clara hesitated. She wasn't volunteering tonight. She wasn't in the mood to be cheerful. But something tugged at her, a gentle insistence, and before she could talk herself out of it, she pushed the door open. The air smelled like cocoa and pine. Children's laughter bounced off the walls, bright and unrestrained. A few volunteers waved, mistaking her for one of them, and Clara found herself helping without being asked, passing out cups, stacking donated toys, kneeling to tie a shoelace. It felt good to be useful, to be needed, even for a moment. That's when she heard the whisper. "Excuse me." She turned and saw two little girls standing side by side, identical in every way, dark curls escaping from red knit hats, white eyes that mirrored each other perfectly. They held hands like a single thought split into two. One of them tilted her head, studying Clara with a seriousness that felt older than her years. "Are you our mom?" the girl asked. The room seemed to hush around them. Clara's heart stumbled. "Oh," she said gently, crouching to their level. "I think you might be mistaken." The other girl squeezed her sister's hand. "We lost ours," she said, like it was a fact you could set down and pick back up again. "And you look like how moms look in our dreams." Clara swallowed. She searched the room for an adult, an explanation, anything to anchor this moment to reality. A volunteer hurried over, apologizing. "I'm so sorry," she said. "They've been asking that all evening." She introduced herself as Mrs. Alvarez and explained that the girls, Lily and Rose, had been in foster care since their mother passed away earlier that year. Their father was gone long before that. The holidays were hard. "I understand," Clara said, though her chest ached in a way she didn't understand at all. But Lily and Rose didn't let go of her gaze. "Will you sit with us?" Rose asked. "Just for Coco." Clara sat. They talked about small things at first, favorite colors, which ornaments were the prettiest, how snow tasted if you caught it on your tongue. The girls laughed easily, like joy was a muscle they used every day. And yet, every so often, their laughter would pause, their eyes flicking toward Clara as if checking she was still there. Something inside her shifted. She had always been careful with her heart, but here it was, opening anyway. When the night wound down and coats were pulled on, Lily tugged Clara's sleeve. "You can come back, right?" Clara hesitated. She didn't know the rules. She didn't know the shape of this possibility. But she knew how it felt to walk away from warmth into cold. "If that's okay," she said, looking to Mrs. Alvarez. Mrs. Alvarez smiled, tired but kind. They could use a familiar face. Clara went home that night with the snow crunching under her boots and a strange lightness in her step. She told herself it was nothing. A coincidence. A tender moment amplified by Christmas. But the next day, she returned. And the next. She brought books, then cookies, then a routine. The girls began to run to her when she arrived, calling her name like it belonged to them. Weeks passed. Christmas decorations came down, but something else took their place. Clara learned the rhythms of Lily and Rose, the way Lily needed quiet before sleep, the way Rose asked questions until answers ran out. She met social workers, filled out forms, attended meetings she never imagined she would. Fear followed her like a shadow. Who was she to think she could be someone's mother? What if she failed them? What if she was rejected again, this time by the system, by reality itself? One night, after a particularly hard meeting where the word, unlikely, was said too many times, Clara sat in her car and cried. She cried for the date that walked away, for the years she'd spent believing she had to be chosen to be worthy, for the two small lives that had chosen her without hesitation. She wiped her face and whispered into the quiet, "I'm scared." The answer came later, in the simplest way. She was reading to Lily and Rose, their heads tucked under her arms, when Lily looked up and said, "You always come back." Clara's breath caught. "I will," she said, surprised by how true it felt. The process was long. There were home inspections and interviews, sleepless nights and second-guessing. There were moments when Clara felt like an imposter in her own life, standing in a grocery store aisle debating cereal like it was a sacred decision. But there were also victories: the first time the girls slept through the night at her place, the first family photo they took with mismatched smiles, the first time Rose introduced Clara to someone else's, "My mom," testing the word like it was made of glass and hope. On the anniversary of that blind date, snow fell again. Clara stood in the same cafe, this time with Lily and Rose perched on either side of her, hot chocolate mustaches proudly worn. The bell chimed as people came and went, and Clara caught her reflection in the window. She looked fuller somehow. Chosen. Later that night, as they walked home under twinkling lights, Lily squeezed her hand. "Do you remember when we asked you if you were our mom?" Clara smiled. "I do." Rose grinned. "We knew." Clara laughed, a sound that felt like home. She realized then that rejection had never been the end of her story, just a turn in the road. Love hadn't arrived the way she expected. It had asked a question instead. If this story touched you, if it reminded you that the heart often finds its way in unexpected moments, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most. That Christmas Eve, Clara tucked two little girls into bed, kissed their foreheads, and turned off the light. She stood in the doorway for a moment, listening to their breathing, steady and sure. Outside, snow fell quietly, covering the past, making space for something new. And Clara understood at last that being chosen isn't always about someone saying yes to you. Sometimes, it's about having the courage to say yes when love knocks, softly, bravely, on a night you thought would be lonely forever.